Hey everyone, welcome to Princess the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 2 of Hell's Paradise. So, in the first episode, we met Gabi Maru, a trained ninja who, while very skilled at his job, is said to be emotionless, is said to just kind of not have anything behind those eyes. But in reality, he's not emotionless at all, and he doesn't want to die, despite what he tries to convince himself. He has a deep emotional love for his wife that leads to the point where he is kind of subconsciously refusing to die at every turn. No matter how someone tries to execute him or whatnot, he like uses his training and skills to be able to deflect it, block it, and stuff like that without even really noticing, without even trying. And so he is eventually called upon to undertake a mission with the promise of a full pardon so that he and his wife can live a normal life. And not just a pardon, but a pardon that comes with protection from the higher ups. So even his wife's aggressively terrible father wouldn't be able to stop them from, having peace. So, in that case, he takes the job. But what is the job? It is to just journey into this paradise of a land and find out why people keep coming back dead, with flowers growing out of their corpses. It's a mystery to be sure, but it's going to be interesting. Because the first episode started off a little slow. It started off to a point where it's like, this just doesn't seem that interesting to me. It's like, where is this going? What is this going to do? Come on, let's do something here. And then with the second half, basically, it actually started to ramp up. It made Gabi Maru as a character much more interesting. It made the story much more interesting. The animation even got a lot crisper, like with the introduction of the paradise that they're going to. And it's really going to be a fascinating story. I can tell. I don't know what else to expect from this series yet. I assume there's going to be other prisoners going besides just him. I assume that basically you could say his recruiter, I can't remember her name right now, but she is probably not the only person who was sent to find prisoners. She just happened to be probably the only one to find a prisoner who's, well, maybe not the only one, but one of the only ones to find a prisoner who could actually handle it. Some of the others are probably just choosing random people who will just, die. Let's be honest. But, I mean, who knows? Because the Shogun's going to want people who can actually do this, because the reason they're going into this paradise in the first place is to find this so-called elixir of life. And the Shogun wants this. So, sending in people who are just going to die isn't really going to help matters. Someone like Gabi Maru would. Someone who is exceptionally skilled and determined to get out of there alive. Which is why sending this swordmaster to find a candidate was a smart idea, because she's exceptionally talented. She would be able to find someone also exceptionally talented. Not to mention, with her interview, she was able to clue out whether or not he would have the determination to make it back. It's definitely a bit of an underhanded tactic, but it's a smart tactic because it helps both parties. And so, yeah, I'm definitely interested now. We're gonna have to see where it goes, see what happens. and see what the mystery of this strange paradise is. Because it may look pretty, but it's hiding some extreme dangers. That much is clear. And I want to see what those dangers are. I want to see if there's monsters and demons and shit in there. Because that would be fun. I kind of enjoy seeing monster and demons in anime and stuff just because I love seeing what kind of designs they're given. Because so many different anime give demons and monsters different, excuse me, different kinds of designs. So it's like, it's always fun to see, like, oh, what's this anime going to do with that? What's this one going to do with that? Um, Sometimes they're more humanoid. Sometimes they look like the thing from Demon 79 of Black Mirror. Uh, yeah, if you know, you know. And sometimes they're even crazier than that, which is surprising. But sometimes, yeah, just depends. And sometimes they're kind of funny looking, like in Death Note. um, but yeah, I'm excited to see what exactly we get, and it might not even be demons or stuff like that. Um, excuse me, which would honestly make it a little more interesting. Like if it's like just the like land itself that is turning against the people, that is like attacking and killing them, that would be interesting. Um, I've seen stuff. I've seen media that's done that before too, but I feel like not as often. So now I'm even more curious. I'm actually making myself even more curious as to what's going to happen here. I could think of so many different ideas. Um, but I'm invested in Gabimaru. I want to see him get back to his wife. I want to see him be able to love on and live a normal life with his wife. That is goals right there. And I'm hoping the sword tester lady, I'm hoping she comes with us. Not only because of her skill being valuable to a mission like this, but also I just want to see more of her. Like she was made out to be a interesting character right off the bat. Why get rid of her? Why would they not follow up on keeping her in the story after giving her this depth and intrigue? And I'm sure we're going to get more characters, other new characters that we can get behind or even hate. Uh, a lot of these shows will do that. So, yeah. Let's just get into it, see what we have in store. I don't even know if the mission is going to technically begin this episode. There could be a little bit more to do in prep for it. But either way, let's get going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. We are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, let's get this out of the way right from the start. Let's talk about the naked imagery here. Because while technically, yes, you could say it's sexy and everything, honestly, that's missing the point. And I feel like a lot of people know what that kind of imagery is reflective of. But there are some people who I've seen who still don't understand, who still don't get why they would show like her naked there. And this comes back to like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In part 3, Stardust Crusaders, they have imagery like that for Holly, Jotaro's mother, when she is being ravaged by the stand that she is unwittingly being given. She's being ravaged by it because she's not strong enough physically to be able to handle something like that. And there's this imagery that shows her naked, surrounded by the vines of the stand coming from her back. And I've seen people watching that say, why is she naked? Why did they have to show her naked there? They don't understand. And so I'm going to teach you a thing today. Nudity is oftentimes, throughout history, viewed as an example of extreme vulnerability. It is seen as the most vulnerable a person can be. You're unclothed, you're unprotected, you are vulnerable. You are vulnerable to the elements, you are vulnerable to anything out there when you are naked. It is the least protected, least safe way a person can present themselves. And thinking about nudity in that way also makes the idea of being nude with someone, whether during sex or just, I don't know, showing off your body to them, mostly during like sexual relations and whatnot is what I'm referring to, though. Being nude with someone is you're sharing that vulnerability with them. You find them safe enough to remove all clothing, remove any protection you might have, and just be your purest self. Now, in the case of this, and in the case of JoJo as well, you have this character shown through, obviously not literal in the moment nudity going on, but in like her mind, she's viewing herself as completely naked, completely vulnerable, unprotected, being surrounded by these demon ghost like hands grabbing at her, tugging at her, all the victims she's killed, all the victims that she worries she has not had the right mindset when she has killed, and she worries that she's caused them to suffer, that she's caused them pain in their deaths. She's afraid. She's vulnerable. That's why she's naked there. It's showing her in her most pure, unprotected state as a way of giving us imagery to express how weak she feels in that moment. How her fear leads to her feeling like she's unprotected and vulnerable and could herself die. And the imagery at the end, with her sharing that with Gabimaru, shows that it's not about ignoring those fears or trying to work past those fears, but with the kind of job she has, learning to live with them. Not just like from a hollow point of view and everything, but learning to accept what you have to do despite the fear. To accept your position, not by ignoring the fears you have, but by working through them, basically. It's you could look at that imagery in this episode and just say, oh, sexy naked lady. But it wasn't, that's missing the point. Watching this, that never really, like, and I can get pretty horny, and that never really crossed my mind. The multiple points where it showed her like that what my mind went to was vulnerability. Like, the imagery was intense and wild. And I made a note of it. It's like, oh, that imagery. Because it showed how in her own head she was with this, how scared and how hesitant she was about taking life. It's character growth, character development, her coming to realize everything and learning how to shift her focus to be able to withstand that. So I never saw it in this as just like something to find attractive and everything, something to like see as sexy. It just, that's not how I viewed it, surprisingly so. It's like even someone who can be as horny as me can acknowledge that sometimes the focus is on other things. Sometimes nudity isn't about sexual gratification. It's about messaging. And I'm great with that. And that's not to say that there isn't any sex appeal to it. But that's not what it's about. And that's not how it comes across as I view it. And who knows, there might be more like sexual nudity later on in the series. But for now, this is a good way to handle that kind of thing. You could say this is a good way to handle sexual fan service because it's showing that off, but using it to enhance the character and the story rather than just having, sexual fan service for the sake of itself. It's not like Tamaki in Fire Force, specifically Tamaki, because the other fan service is fine. Or a lot of the other stuff you see out there. It's actually an intentional choice made to better the story and specifically Sagari's character and the feelings that she's going through. So that's a good way to do fan service. But beyond that, so this episode was kind of, I was kind of thinking like we might not get to Paradise yet, which we didn't really get to it at the end. We just were kind of in sight of it. So I was right. I was right about that idea. But yeah, I was wondering, like, going into this, are we going to actually get there this time, or are we going to have like a little bit more beforehand to just kind of prep for it? And it was the second option. It had to be one of the two, but this time we see that a bunch of prisoners were called, like a lot of them. Too many, in fact. So when they were brought together to have a basically prep meeting in front of the Shogun, it's revealed that there's just not enough, or that there's just too many. So they all have to start killing each other. And it's eventually reduced down to 10. 10 are left, and they are each going to be joined by one of the sword testers. And basically, you not only have to return with the elixir of life, you have to return with your monitor if you want the pardon. And I presume anyone who returns gets it. So there's 10 of each. There's 10 criminals and there's 10 Asaimon, right? So if half of those return, 5 criminals and their monitors, then all 5 of them would get pardoned still, as long as they have the elixir of life, presumably. If only one of them ends up returning, which in that case would be Gabimaru and Sagari, of course, then they would get the pardon, then Gabimaru would get the pardon. But yeah, So I assume that's how it's going. I assume it's not like a free for all battle or anything, especially considering the fact that we were told that the Asaimon will kill them if they try to act out of line. And that presumably means if they try to kill each other, too. So, this is a team mission. They have to work together to some degree, at least. Some of them probably won't be super cooperative with that, but hey. I'm wondering if we're gonna like get a lot more into these other Asaimon too. I wonder if we're going to learn more about them, the other monitors who are coming along. Because we're definitely going to learn about a lot of these other criminals more than we already have. Um, I'm definitely interested to see where this kind of stuff goes. Um, just based on this episode alone, seeing the action that was in this, we're going to have more of that going on. So whatever is in this paradise, like these demons or monsters or whatever they might be, that they're going to have to be fought, and we're going to have some action scenes with that. Probably some pretty cool animation going along with that. Um, I'm hoping for more great imagery though, like the vulnerability, nudity imagery. I want more of that, and the opening kind of promises us that. The opening gives us a lot of great imagery in and of itself, a lot of trippy imagery, like heads coming out of each other, rotating around and everything. Um, it's it's definitely promising to be a very well thought out series. One that's not just about the action and everything, but has depth to it. And I can always dig that. And I like some senseless action sometimes. But when there's a lot more to a series, a lot more to characters, and excuse me, even the imagery, that's the kind of stuff I like. But I'll end off talking about Gabimaru's philosophy here. So Gabimaru does confront the samurai and the shogun, saying, like, we should stop this. We have no reason to be killing each other here. Let's not kill each other. Killing is always bad. And he even goes on to mention it's like he doesn't like to kill, and that he only kills when he needs to. Basically, in self defense or for the sake of his job. He doesn't like killing. It's not something he values or enjoys. In fact, you could very much infer the opposite. Although he doesn't directly say it, you could easily infer that he despises killing, that it bothers him. So you see him though driven to this by some of the other criminals who attack him because one of the samurai tell them it's like, hey, you kill this man, you get to go on this journey. So they start to attack Gabimaru, and in response he's like, I don't want to fight, we don't have to do this, but he's driven to it and he has to act in self-defense. So in order to not die, since he has something to live for, he defends himself and kills them instead. Mind you, he probably could have just knocked them out, but he is trained to do this kind of shit. And he is extremely brutal about it. Like ripping out people's throats with his teeth, slicing their necks only halfway through with like his feet and shit. It's like, Jesus, dude. It's like Sagari was like worried about people she was killing having painful deaths. It's like, girl, you're beheading them in one stroke. They're not dying painfully. You want to see people dying painfully? Look at this. Look at these people with their necks only halfway taken out. These people who are getting their throats eaten. and not in a sexy way. That's painful. The shit that Gabimaru is doing was painful. And that's how he was trained, clearly. That's what he was trained to do, to be. So it makes sense. But it's interesting as well that they called him right after he did that the Hollow, when it was very much expressed that that's was very much not the case. He very much expressed that he's not hollow, that he does care, that it does affect him. It's like calling him the Hollow after all of that is like just ignorance. But these people are stupid anyway, so whatever. Um but yeah, this episode was another good one, and this continued the good shit from the first episode. It didn't like go back into the mediocre stuff. I won't say bad because I don't think anything from the first episode was actually bad. It just started off a little mediocre, a little bland. But it never went back to that kind of stuff in this episode. It was very interesting the entire way through. It was exciting. It was fun. The depth that they were bringing the characters into was great. Sagari's development in this episode was phenomenal. Yeah, a lot of great work went into this. Keep this up, like, please. I'm very much enjoying this. You know I enjoyed the first episode because of the schmaltz, because of this man just wanting to get home to his wife, who he loves, with all his heart and everything. This one I enjoyed just because of the imagery and the depth of what was being shown. It's like you're hitting certain points here that just appeal to me, like a likable, soft male character who just wants to love on his wife and everything, and that's his motivation. That's amazing. Just fantastic imagery with your characters that give them a lot more depth and intrigue to them. Yeah, love that shit. Always love that shit. It's like, keep this shit up, please. And I hope we get more great stuff with, again, these other killers, these other criminals. I definitely want to see, there's specifically a couple of them I definitely want to see more from. The blonde guy who was really quick to get into killing everyone and kind of started the prison riot, you could call it. I definitely want to know more about him. But then there's also the female Kunoichi. I very much want to know more about her because they made a point of showing her talking to Gabimaru at one point. It's like, and she seems interesting. Plus, she also kind of cute, if I'm being honest. But I want to know like more depth behind her and everything, especially because she is a Kunoichi. That automatically gives her a little bit of a connection to Gabimaru since they're both ninja. So I definitely want to know more there. Also, the cannibal courtesan. I don't remember what her name was, but I want to know about her. Like, that sounds hilariously amazing. Like, think about it. Think about what a courtesan is. Think about a cannibal acting as a courtesan to lure in victims. That is genius. I have never heard of that idea before, but that is genius. I love that. Also, it kind of plays into the entire idea of the carnal lusts of the flesh. And it's like, there is so much to love about that. I want to know more about her so badly. Not even because of the sexy aspect of it. I just want to know more. That is just fascinating. It is so cool of an idea. Sometimes just a good fucking concept can get me hyped. But yeah, so at the end we see them sailing and about to reach paradise. So episode 3 is where we kick into that, where we make land and see what Shinsenkyo is really like. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for this series now. I went from just being like, enjoying the first episode and wanting to see more, and now I'm really excited. Hopefully it keeps this up and doesn't take a nosedive somewhere. That would suck ass. Um, I hate it when shows do that, where it starts off really damn good and then takes a nosedive. But either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of episode 2 of Hell's Paradise? Let me know down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.